comedy news podcast bringing you the latest and greatest from October, Australia, where it hit 34 degrees the other day. And
I'm
Jesus.
sorry?
Yep.
Jeez. See, the good thing is soon you're going to feel as sweaty and hot as I do constantly. And that will be a good, relatable feeling again. We can relate about our weather experiences. Because lately I've been feeling a little bit like, you know, we're so far apart. You're in the cold, I'm in the hot, I'm sweaty, you're frozen. But soon we'll both be sweaty, and it will be really good.
You feel like this beautiful connection between us is just kind of like there's something's come between us, and that is
that's it, exactly.
Distance. The ocean has come between us, quite literally.
Sure.
But also
the fact that I'm sweating and you're not is also a big problem.
Well, I'm on antidepressants, so a cool thing about that benefits you is that I sweat way more than a normal person. So congratulations, Alison.
Well, that's good. That's good. That means we can both sweat a lot.
Profusely.
No, that was a very loud motorcycle. The cool thing is when it comes to like the wet season here, there might be some other issues relating to the fact that it will be raining 24/7. So we'll see how that goes for the recording.
So this is going to become a meditative podcast temporarily.
We've you'll still hear the motorcycles in the background that you're getting now. You'll still get that audio experience.
But you'll also hear splashes and rains and intermittent screams. So, like...
Exactly. There'll be a little bit of everything, a little bit of a taster of the soundscape. Speaking of which, this is the second time we've tried to record today. The first time, someone so selfishly decided to do construction and renovate the building that I'm in.
Who does that during the day on a Saturday?
Yeah.
What a piece of shit. Don't
Absolutely.
they realise that some people have to record things during the day on Saturday? And there's no other reason why.
Exactly. Don't they realise that some of the fucking idiots that they've allowed to live in this house record a podcast on the daytime and Saturday, usually if they're not going away on the weekend? So they shouldn't renovate the house and they should just let it fall to pieces. It's as simple as that.
I personally would prefer that, but I get that I'm biased in this situation.
Yeah, I'm pretty biased too.
I have a new source for news that I've been very excited to talk to you about.
You mentioned something, and I've been intrigued, so it better be good, because my interest has been piqued since you mentioned it earlier in the week.
So I have always been... I'm a big proponent of people paying for journalism. I think that, people spend all this time and effort writing things and we should pay for them.
Sure.
And the Apple News Plus service recently came to Australia, and I already give Apple most of my income, so I figured what's a little bit more.
What's one more thing?
Exactly. And also because the only journalism that I currently pay for is The Guardian, and this way I get to give Rupert some money, and therefore I can say I'm #fair and balanced.
Well, there you go. You can chuck a few dollars his way, and then Rupert will be happy with you. He'll be proud of you.
I'm going to try and describe to you what this Apple News Plus service entails.
Yeah,
so,
I'd like to know.
I don't know if you've used the new Apple News app, but it's basically like a flipboard or something like that, where it collates all of these different papers and sort of gives you articles.
Well, I'm guessing it's probably close to the Samsung News app.
Probably pretty similar.
One of them ripped off the other one.
So the Apple News Plus interface basically just looks like that, but with like different sources that you would normally have to pay for. Like they've got like Wall Street Journal and the Australian and stuff like that. But there's a little button in the top left corner that says Browse the Catalogue.
The catalogue?
When you click that, oh my, does the world open up before you.
All of the shitty papers in the world at the touch of a button.
I have in front of me an alphabetized list of magazines. Most of them are extremely niche.
Oh my gosh.
I haven't been in a newsagent in 100 years. And frankly, I didn't think that they still existed.
Just a moment. You can talk, but I'm not going to talk for a second because there's a weird, annoying thing coming down the street. Making a lot of sounds. You may hear that music.
No, I can hear it. That's wonderful ambience. I am going to let this pass.
Yeah. These guys, they're like these big, scary mascots that supposedly welcome people, but they're these giant mascot suits with huge heads, and they kind of scare kids a lot.
They've rudely interrupted my Apple commercial. I'm going to leave some of this in the episode, but listeners, please assume I've cut most of it out because it's taken quite a while.
It will pass. It will pass. Okay, I can see it right outside my room. So it's on its way past.
I can hear it right outside your room. It's amazing.
Anyway, that's what's called an ondel, and they're these mascots which supposedly welcome people to the city of Jakarta. And they welcome people to the city of Jakarta by playing loud music and scaring children to solicit tips. And I do give them tips to make them go away sometimes.
That's the spirit.
So, Chris, you were talking about your Apple News. I feel like we should just get right back into it.
Let's get back to this unpaid advertisement.
Absolutely.
But, so the first three things at the top of the page are 3D artist, 3D world, the advertiser. And then there's some other stuff like all about history, all about space. And then you've got your normal things like Australian Geographic, Men's Health.
Sure.
And I just scroll down to a bit, and there's a few bird-watching ones. And,
okay, interesting.
What's this? Alison, there exists a magazine called Boys Life.
Boys Life!
Boys
cool.
Life.
What's Boys Life all about?
Based on my brief perusing of Boys Life, because you know that was the first one that I opened.
Oh, absolutely. You see Boys Life, and you know you have to click that.
It appears to be a children's magazine that's mostly based around, like, outdoors stuff.
Oh, cool. Like finding frogs and, like, tattling on girls.
I mean, yes, pretty much. There's one bit where they teach you how to build a DIY wooden house for ducks to live in.
What? This is great.
Classic boys stuff.
All the boys I know when I was a kid were out there in the backyard building wooden houses for ducks to live in.
There exists a magazine called Cottage Life. That
Cottage
should not
Life?
exist.
Okay.
That should not be allowed to exist. But, to be fair, if you own a cottage, you're also probably the kind of person who still buys magazines.
Well, I would say so. If I owned a cottage, I would buy magazines just to fit the aesthetic, you know.
Now, this one's bad. There's the premier magazine of the West, Cowboys and Indians.
Ooh, okay.
So that exists.
Can we just make it Cowboys?
I would love to, Alison.
Just a magazine called Cowboys.
There is no less than 4 cycling magazines.
I'm surprised there's not more.
There's several electronic music magazines that I will unironically read.
Sure.
But the one that I really want to bring to you is...
I'm excited. I'm excited for whatever's happening.
So this is a magazine called Wild by Wellbeing.
Oh, no.
And then just a little subheading under it says, Belief Shakers, Style Makers, Paradise Creators.
I hate it already.
So...
anytime I hear the word wellness or well-being, I automatically assume it's like some Silicon Valley tech cult health lifestyle influencer thing.
I'm really excited about this magazine Wild because this is the first issue of Wild that's come out.
This is a fresh, new, hot off the press magazine.
Yeah, we are on the ground floor of the Wild story.
I'm excited. I'm excited to get right into what they've got to offer.
So I've opened the front page and first things first, there is an ad for Nourished Life, Australia's home of toxin-free shopping, on which a woman wearing a white strapless jumpsuit.
Of course she's wearing a white strapless jumpsuit.
Big shiny heels, is sort of karate kicking what I think is supposed to be like a tube that would have moisturizer or something in it, and I guess that's supposed to be toxins.
I guess there are toxins in that tube.
The tagline is, kick the evil toxins, no need to read the labels. Which is interesting.
Well, I feel like if you want to kick the toxins, you probably need to read what's in it. Because on the label it could just say, this is 100% toxins.
The next page is a wonderful piece of art that has, on one page, in a very fancy-looking font, it just says, blame it on my wild heart, and there's nothing else on the page.
Just a plain white page?
It's a yellow page, like a sepia tone.
Okay, sure.
And then the next page is a drawing of two zebras nuzzling one another so that they look like they're making a heart shape.
Well, that's cute.
And so you can see how it relates to the wild heart.
But I can also see that they're lacking a little bit in content, perhaps.
I'm going to read to you the first piece of written text in Wild.
Okay, I'm excited. I want to know what this is.
Welcome. Are you ready to get wild?
I sure am.
Welcome to Wild, a new publication for the curious, the thought leaders, belief shakers, paradigm shifters, and paradise creators. Wild is for those going against the grain, swimming upstream, standing boldly in the arena, asking the hard questions and doing the prickly work on themselves and the way they create their lives. That's a sentence.
I kind of tuned out halfway through that sentence because I felt like I was reading someone's Instagram caption.
This is an entire magazine of Instagram caption, Alison. I can't stress this enough. That this
is a yoga influencers Instagram captions
magazine,
magazine-ified.
Who the fuck is gonna buy this? Like,
I don't know. Which country is this in? Is this Australia?
Yes.
If you sold it exclusively in Byron Bay, you'd probably get a solid readership.
Actually, fuck, that's true.
You could probably, and then just feature different Byron Bay wasps each day. And then...
So here's how this is going to work, is I'm going to keep reading this, and you tell me at which point you're starting to feel, like, suicidal, and then I will stop.
I'm feeling nauseated. Okay, let's see how this goes.
It's for those who resist the status quo and believe wholeheartedly in change, doing everything that they can to create it. It's for those who embrace the murky unknown, despite how uncomfortable it might make them feel. Ultimately, we exist to reawaken the wild within you.
That part.
that's where you draw the line?
That's the cap. That's the end. I could deal with the rest. The rest was just like platitudes that I read in every Instagram caption. But the last part, you got to...
Alison, it kind of sounds to me like you're not a thought leader, like you don't want to reawaken the wild within you.
I don't think there is any wild within me to awaken.
In my experience,
I think I'm the most milquetoast person.
In my experience of me, the hashtag wild within me mostly comes out when I drink too much, and he's just kind of an asshole. So I would rather keep him under wraps, honestly.
Yeah. He's not very fair enough to me.
Wild
frankly.
Chris is not very considerate compared to normal Chris.
I think the wildness of me comes out in The Sims, and that's exclusively.
That's true. You do some fucked up shit in The Sims.
I think everyone does, though. Like, I can't understand who plays The Sims normally and just makes a family and makes them live happily.
There must be someone.
Surely there is. Because do you know they've been patching out a lot of the fun things that you can do to glitch the game. And
Sim.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm very excited to, over the coming weeks, just really peruse the Apple News Plus catalogue, which functionally is just the entire contents of any Australian news agency for $15. And it's all utterly useless.
You've got to get into your That's Life and your Now magazine. You know, the ones
Alison, there's a magazine called Jazz Times.
Oh, Jazz Times.
Who is being paid to write Jazz Times?
Magazines are very niche.
But I can't comprehend. People have to be paid to make these. I can't understand who is paying them.
I have a feeling that a lot of these magazines are owned by the same companies and probably get written by the same person. So your writer for Jazz Times is also writing for Cottage Life, even though he doesn't live in a cottage.
Yeah, no, I like to believe that it's actually one person who plays jazz in a cottage by a lake on which they go yachting.
He has a lot of niche interests, and he just writes for every single niche magazine.
They're also really into PC gaming. They're really, really into old-timey cars. There's so many things. They're a pro cyclist, and they're an astronaut.
Well, there you go. He can write for any magazine that's out there.
So this is the end of our unsponsored commercial for Apple News Plus. I just really, I'm so excited about this.
Well, I'm excited to see what content you can dig up from some of these magazines.
It's going to involve a lot more work than I usually do.
Well, that's true.
But I will try. Do you have a story for me?
You will give it a red-hot go.
I'll give it a redhead hot go.
Yeah, I've got some stories. Let me just dig into the archive. And by the archive, I mean my email inbox that I email myself stories in.
You have the most delightfully DIY method of organisation for this podcast, and I really appreciate it. Because there's so many other better ways that you could do it, but you refuse to, and you do it the way you want to.
I was keeping, like, a Google document that had all the stories in it, but then in order to, like, save the story, it would just be an effort of, I'd have to, like, open the Google document and then paste the link, and then, I don't know, just the, like, sending the email worked much quicker because the emails load much quicker than Google Docs does on my phone.
This is fair, actually.
Because
you have a phone from, like, 2013, don't you?
Something like that, yeah. And it just means that I can access my stories across all devices in my email inbox.
I like that that's arguably what the pitch for Google Docs is. It's just that your phone is too slow to use Google Docs, so you use email instead.
It just takes a few extra efforts. Okay. All right. Shall we read this story?
Let's.
Do we want to read something? Do we want to start with something happy, or do we want to start with something a little bit more controversial?
Let's start controversial and happy. I think that's a good
idea. I like that.
Because otherwise I end the podcast feeling grumpy,
well,
and then I don't
let's not
sleep.
end feeling grumpy. Let's end with a good note. So, hang on. I have to open this link because this is the link that I can read the story on. So this is from the Courier Mail, which, as you know, is a Rupert publication.
One of old Rupert's old rags.
So one of the big stories that has been in the news, that I'm sure all around the world has been in the news, is about the climate rallies that have been happening.
Yeah, they were fun.
All the kids, standing up against the man being probably Rupert Murdoch himself, and asking for, some action on climate change, which, good on the kids, because when I was the kid, what I was doing was usually in my room...
The Sims.
Well, probably at that stage of my life, Zoo Tycoon, mostly. Which I guess is somewhat environment-themed. I did learn about how to create a good habitat for some animals.
Is that made by the same people as The Sims?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay,
I don't think it is. No.
Anyway, please continue.
Anyway, I just thought this story was... Look, this is a story about someone who obviously is very unhappy with the idea of recognising climate change exists. But it's a very funny story, but also a little bit depressing when you think about it. So anyway, this is from the Sunday Mail in Queensland, and by journalist Greg Stolz. The headline goes, "Kids forced to sing hippie climate change songs." And the picture included is a picture of a grumpy-looking dad with his hands on his hips standing outside the school in which the kids were forced to sing hippie climate change songs.
Can I say that a grumpy-looking dad with his hands on his hips is one of the least sexy possible descriptions of a human being?
Good. I don't want to accidentally make people feel attracted to this man, because he clearly...
Don't worry, there is no risk of that.
Anyway, his son is also featuring in the photo. I'm not sure, how willingly the son is featuring in the photo, but the dad has one hand on his son's shoulder, and the son is also looking quite grumpy. He
has to live with the dad, so I get it.
Anyway, I just thought, when I first saw this, before we even get into the story, you know how so many people have been, going off, getting very angry about Greta Thunberg?
Yeah, they really don't like Greta.
They're really angry about at about a teen, Anyway.
They're angry at all teens, let's be honest. But they really don't like this one specific one.
This one specific teen tends to make a lot of old men very angry. And you know what? Good on her for doing that. Yeah. But a lot of their argument is that these children are being used against their will to push a political agenda. Now, if I've seen any picture to illustrate that, that's this picture that's attached to this article. Because the son does not look very pleased to be in this photo with his dad outside his school. Anyway,
he's going to get bullied mercilessly.
He's also a redhead, so he's probably already being bullied mercilessly, rather.
The idea of being bullied mercifully. So, they're like, now look, Jeremy, you know we have to do something. All we're going to do is call you names. We could do much worse, Jeremy. Just think about it. Think about the things we could do to you.
Look, Jeremy, we are going to have to flush your head down the toilet at this point in time. But
we're not going to flush your lunch down the toilet, so really...
So you can still eat afterwards. And we will hand you a towel when we are finished, so that you can dry off.
We're nothing if not gentlemen, Jeremy.
I hope this kid doesn't get bullied, because
we're nothing if not gentlemen, Jeremy. Now kneel down on the bathroom floor.
Anyway, let's get into this story about this very angry dad who's just absolutely disgusted at what's happened here at this kid's school. A Gold Coast dad has pulled his 10-year-old son out of school in protest after students were encouraged to dress like hippies and sing climate change songs. Matt Carlos, a professional pilot, withdrew his son, name redacted, from Bilambil Public School near Tweed Heads last week over concerns the youngster was being brainwashed by greenie teachers.
Jesus.
Max has come home a few times over the last couple of months, a bit concerned about some of the green ideologies being pushed on him, he said. The last straw was held last week when they held a Green Day and wanted the kids to do...
Do they all sing Green Day songs?
Well, that's what I hoped.
But they only sing the old shit, the Dookie era shit, when they were good before the 2000s.
Although American Idiot, that's a banging song. You got to.
I mean, we can talk about this later.
That was a good song. That was a fun song.
I'll admit it's catchy. It's from a very bad album.
Look, I think the thing about Green Day, and props to them, is that they're still very... Well, they're very rich men now, but they're not they're not becoming the people who just suddenly become conservative for some reason. They're just weird 50-year-old rich guys who still act like angry teenagers. You gotta,
I'd argue lots of conservative people act like angry teenagers.
Well, that's true. That's true. But they don't. They don't dress like cool. They don't act like cool angry teenagers.
Oh, okay.
The wrong kind of angry teenagers. Anyway, this isn't that kind of Green Day. This is just a day where the kids were encouraged to dress up like hippies and sing climate change songs, apparently. Like Joni Mitchell's Big Yellow Taxi. Classic propaganda piece there.
fucking Joni Mitchell. Can't trust
Joni Mitchell
her.
Spreading climate change propaganda to our youths.
Joni Mitchell, you fucking millennial. How dare you?
God-awful climate change propaganda that Joni Mitchell is forcing down our children's throats.
Joni Mitchell is incredibly new and young singer-songwriter.
Absolutely. And, it's just disgusting that kids are being forced to sing her songs in school against their will. It's just awful.
Next thing you know, they're going to be singing fucking Whitney Houston, Alison. What kind of filth are they going to let these children...
That's disgusting. Do you know what?
They might be singing Bob Dylan. Can you imagine?
The disgusting millennial filth. Absolutely. They might sing that song that... Name I've forgotten, so I'm going to move on.
Great joke.
Max didn't want a bar of that, so we're looking around for another school.
Because they wanted him to sing Joni Mitchell songs.
Yeah, this kid really didn't want to sing Joni Mitchell songs.
He's just more of a country kind of kid.
Yeah,
you know?
he's more into the country western stuff. He wanted to sing horses, but he wasn't allowed to sing horses. He had to sing Joni Mitchell, and that was a step too far for the dad.
Then fucking do it then. I don't know. I don't see the answer to this outside of me being just like...
Just go to...
Okay.
Okay, sure.
If you want to make teachers more conservative, pay them more. There's a direct correlation between those two
becoming
things.
a rich person and becoming a conservative person. So I'm going to keep reading. It says, Max said, "Why would I want to dress like a hippie? Hippies just sit around all day doing nothing." Is this guy right out of the 60s though? Because
Incorrect. They sit around all day getting super blasted on weed, and
that's true.
That is a very good use of someone's time in the ACT legally now.
Look, I just feel like getting angry at hippies is something that I haven't really heard people do in modern era time. Maybe hipsters?
I
Maybe
don't think I've heard
millennials?
anyone use the word hippies in a decade.
No.
I don't...
This kid is bigoted against people from the 60s.
So, okay, so really it's his dad that he hates.
Oh, maybe his dad was definitely a hippie in his youth. This is... He's got all this rage towards his hippie cohort from when he was young, which has been pent up.
He once saw a photo of his dad dressed in, the outfit, the tie-dyed whole situation.
And it had the smiley face on it, and give peace a chance.
And the room, this was, in a dark, dimly lit, in his dad's office at, 11 o'clock at night, and the lights were out. There was only, the light from the outside shining through the window as he looks at this old photo. And he shouts and just screams viciously and throws the photo at the floor.
See, this is what I've
smashes.
envisioned, right? The kid is scrounging around in his dad's drawer for the credit card. ASMR scene, there's the papers moving around, and he picks up.
So cinematic.
Exactly, and he picks up one, and it's really dusty, and he brushes the dust off, and the dust flies away, and he looks down at the photo that's in his hands, and it's his dad in that outfit.
And he immediately throws up.
And he
just into the drawer.
And he just starts screaming.
And then he closes the drawer and leaves a little present for his dad to find as punishment.
And then his dad's like, "What's wrong, son?" And the son runs to the room without saying anything. But when the dad goes in, he smells the distinct smell of vomit, and he opens the drawer. And he sees the photo with the dust brushed off it in the drawer full of vomit.
And he goes, he just knows. And
he
then
knows what's happened.
The camera slowly pans back, and we look at the dad as he stands up, lifts this vomit dripping photo, and the sound of silence starts to play. Smash cut to credits. End of episode. Oh, we get an Emmy for that shit, Alison.
We know, we want to watch it next week to find out what's going to happen. We want to know how this story goes. And what happened next week is what we're reading here. So
the dad lets a single tear, that beautiful Emmy juice, float down his cheek.
Absolutely. So I'm going to continue reading. Mr. Carlos, who is the dad, who has had a long-running battle with environmentalists and the Greens-dominated Tweedshire Council over water mining on his family property, said schools should not be pushing green political agendas. Kids like Swedish teenage climate activist Greta Thunberg are being used as pawns, he said, posing with his child outside the school that his child goes to and is going to be relentlessly bullied for this article over... are being used like pawns.
I don't like this man very much.
I'll be honest, I don't really like him either. So
is there any more?
I'm just going to read the explanation for this, because you're probably pretty angry that this kid had to dress up like a hippie and sing Joni Mitchell, because that's the worst thing that could possibly happen at school.
Firstly, that sounds fucking sick. I wish my school did that.
I wish I could dress up like a hippie and sing Joni Mitchell.
I'm just struggling to make jokes about it, because it's just he's a dick. There's nothing
he's just
much
not
more
an
to
ideal
it.
man. Anyway, I'm going to read this. A New South Wales education spokesman said Year 3 and 4 students were studying the theme of change. through topics including the survival of living things, animal and plant farming processes, and different views of how to manage places and environments.
They should also do the final season of Game of Thrones as an example of negative change.
Well, sure, that's a good idea.
That was pretty weak. Please continue.
Any of the Netflix seasons of Arrested Development as examples of negative change.
Negative change.
Students' choices for study included climate change, the changes brought by plastic pollution, and possible remedies, he said. No political content has been taught. And that's the end of the story.
I mean, if the topic is change, I admit those are fairly, specific implementations of change. But at the same time, if it was just that one David Bowie song, if you could just study that would be pretty awesome.
Well, that's true. Maybe the dad was angry that his son didn't get to study that song. And instead he had to study Joni Mitchell.
Bowies and Spice.
He's not like a climate change denier. He's just a sexist and doesn't like female singer-songwriters. And that's...
he's just a really big David Bowie fan.
Absolutely.
Can I read you an article submitted by our wonderful intern, Marianne?
Of course.
This is from her favourite website, Lad Bible.
Of course it is.
Every time we make fun of it, she sends me a very angry Facebook message, and it delights me to no end. So please continue to do
That's
so.
That's why I'm going to keep making fun of Lad Bible, because let's face it, every one of us has been scrolling through our Facebook feed and has seen a Lad Bible thing and probably clicked it, or watched the video, or a bored panda, or tasty, or any of those little clickbait things.
Can't they just change the name to not be Lad Bible? It just has the words lad and Bible are both bad words, and I object to them being in the...
Just
if it was literally...
the words next to each other together.
It's
quite
a perfectly
triggering.
fine website. It's just named Lad Bible. I just can't with that.
Because you just know where that started. You can't help but think of the origins of Lad Bible.
Well, yeah, it's literally just a wackier version of the Boys' Life magazine. It's the same core concept. Anyway. So there's a story written by Claire Reed. It's kind of crazy that they let women write for Lad Bible. Surely,
absolutely disgusting.
You think only lads could write for Lad Bible? This is my fucking
lads
issue.
Writing my Bible. That's why you don't like Lad Bible. Well, I mean, that's true, because
the real
Bible
was written mostly by lads, and it's got a lot of whack shit
I'm
in
pretty sure the real Bible was written exclusively by lads. If I remember my biblical studies correctly.
And, I take some...
that's another reason to be...
with the real Bible.
Well, that's another reason to be kind of, questioning Lad Bible, is... The actual Bible is also Lad Bible, technically speaking.
I'm going to start calling the real Bible the Lad Bible. Bible by Lad.
Exactly. What we need is the Lass Bible, which is the exact same thing, just with women writing it instead, so therefore it's more feminist.
Isn't Jesus really the original lad?
He had a crew. He had a squad.
He had a squad. He turned all the water into wine.
Just
it got
the
fucking
boys.
Lit.
He was hanging out with just the boys, down by the river. And no one brought some brewskis. And he's like, oh, don't worry, boys, I got this. Get me some water.
Judas betrayed him and he says, what the fuck, man? Bros before hoes. No,
Come
Judas.
On. Exactly.
So this story's headline is, Russian man files lawsuit against Apple for turning him gay.
I saw this story.
You've seen this? It's delicious.
And in fact, I did read it on Lad Bible as well.
Prepare to hear it again.
Yeah, sure.
Try to forget that you've heard it.
I will forget.
Or try and recreate your laughter in a way that sounds natural.
I don't think I read the whole story, because to be honest, I never read the whole story when I go on Lad Bible. I just kind of look at the headline in the first paragraph and then click away.
I don't read the whole story when I do this podcast. I normally skip to the interesting bits. So.
Okay, well, go ahead.
A man in Russia has filed a lawsuit against Apple for moral harm after he claims an iPhone app turned him gay. The man filed his court in Moscow court, where he's asking for 1 million rubles, which is about £12,500.
Just give him the money.
According to the...
Apple can just give him the money.
According to the complaint seen by AFP and reported in the Moscow Times, he claims he was sent a cryptocurrency called gaycoin.
This is my favourite part when I read the original story.
Via an app instead of Bitcoin, which he had ordered.
What is a gaycoin?
What is gaycoin? This is a cryptocurrency I can get behind.
I want to know.
Both literally and figuratively.
If anyone of our listeners is a crypto bro and you're fully into cryptocurrencies, can you please send some gaycoin our way?
Our shit, we're going to open a Patreon, but we only accept payment in gaycoin.
I just like it. I like that exists. It's great.
Sapihat Gusniva, a lawyer acting for the unnamed man, told AFP the lawsuit was serious and said the man was scared. He suffered. According to the claim, the gaycoin arrived with a note which read, "Don't judge until you try." So the man decided to do just that. And despite the fact that you can't turn someone gay, he says he is now in a relationship with a man.
Well, good on him. I hope his relationship is good, but also I just don't understand this whole situation. He received a cryptocurrency called gaycoin with "Don't judge until you try." So he thought that was instructions for his life. And
he did it.
And he did it, and he realised that, hey, actually, I'm quite into this, and also I'm in love with this man, and I want him to be my partner, so I'm going to sue Apple.
In the suit, the complainant wrote, "I thought, in truth, how can I judge something without trying?
Well, fair enough.
I decided to try same-sex relationships." I mean, I think a lot of us in this day and age have had that exact thought process, and that's why we are now bisexual. Anyway, I can say after the passage of 2 months that I'm mired in intimacy with a member of my own sex and can't get out. I have a steady boyfriend, and I don't know how to explain it to my parents. After receiving the aforementioned message, my life has changed for the worse and will never be normal again. So, this motherfucker got some gaycoin, and out of that got a steady boyfriend.
He got gaycoin and he got a boyfriend. He should be paying Apple.
He was gay for 2 months and he had a steady boyfriend.
And that's fucking...
Based on my experience with the scene, that's a fucking achievement, and he should be paying them a lot of money.
He should be giving that $12,000. Well, this is in Russia, right? So perhaps it got lost in translation, and in fact he was trying to give a thank you money to Apple.
Maybe.
Over this whole situation.
And he accidentally sued them. We've all accidentally sued Apple.
Yeah, we will.
Well, that's pretty normal.
You know what? Sue Apple. Good on you. I'm happy for Apple to be sued for whatever reason. Try and milk them dry for the most amount of money.
I think my Apple News Plus subscription should go directly to this man.
Exactly. So he can buy more gay coins, and then maybe he can use those gay coins to fund a good lifestyle for him around people who love and support him in a place that's safe for him.
Not Russia. So my favourite thing, and I'm going to assume this is just like a blip in the translation, but I really love the phrase "mired in intimacy."
That is a very good phrase.
It's just so descriptive, and it sounds like he's having a fucking time of his life.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's just his house is just a den of sin.
In the best way possible.
Despite the gaycoin being exchanged through a third-party application, Kuzneva says Apple has a responsibility for their programs. Apple has not provided a comment on the case.
Well, I'm shocked that they haven't provided a comment on this.
And I mean, Tim Apple is a gay man, so Tim Apple might be responsible for the gaycoin. Who knows? If he is, I applaud him for it.
Yeah, well, I hope that more people can receive gay coins and read the description and feel confident enough to try.
All they had to do to make me appreciate cryptocurrency was call it gay. That's literally all to de-douchify it, and I like it all of a sudden.
Absolutely. And then a lot less straight dude bros from Silicon Valley would be buying them too, because they don't want that on their computer.
They don't want the gay coin on their computer. Because they don't want their wives to look at them and be like, "Oh my god, what's that? What's that gay coin?" And he'd be like, "It's nothing, Deborah."
It's nothing. I do feel kind of bad for this guy, though,
Stop looking at my computer, Deborah.
in being in Russia. It's not an easy situation for him.
He's now a gay man in Russia, so that's
and
that's
look,
a
I
toughie.
do hope him and his partner, who he is made in intimacy with, can find a safe place to live with the money that Apple is going to give them, because this lawsuit has absolutely no flaws, and they will 100% win.
I think they should go and work for Gaycoin. They could be like their success story.
Exactly. Reach out to Gaycoin, get a job at Gaycoin, and then become the face of Gaycoin.
Do you have another story for me, please, Alison?
Yeah.
I reckon we got time for one or two more. Let's try one and see how we feel. What's the time?
Actually, I've got a pun for the end of this show as well. Later.
Oh my god, yes! It's just like old times when we put effort into things.
So we'll get into that later. But I also am reaching back to the Port Macquarie News for this story.
Ooh, how nostalgic!
Yeah, it is nostalgic. And look, this is a bit of a happier story, because I did say I had someone that's a little bit like, ooh, blood boiling. This one's a bit of fun, you know. Got to get into a bit of fun. But it does involve straight people, so maybe that's a problem for you.
Yeah, okay, fine.
We can tolerate that, right? We can deal with that.
Yeah, it's fine.
So I'm not actually going to read the headline, because it kind of, it spoils one of the fun revelations that happens when you read this story, because actually the headline on the link that I clicked was different to the headline on the actual article, and the headline on the actual article ruins the fun reveal.
Awesome.
So the picture that we can see is a loving couple arriving at their wedding riding on lawnmowers. Which is a great picture, and that's why I wanted to click this.
I know you probably mean the sitting on ones, but I always imagine someone surfing on like a push lawnmower.
Now that would be sick.
Yeah.
Or one of those like old school lawnmowers that doesn't have any diesel, and it's just like one of the spin things.
It's just like a stick with blades coming out the side.
Running on the blades. Absolutely, that would be cool.
Just a big whippersnapper. Just like a giant whippersnapper.
Sitting on like the little bits of plastic that go around and chop the grass. Okay.
I mean, I'm sure it would do glass if you put it next to it. I'm sure it'd get the job done.
I'm sure it could chop anything. I'm going to read the story. When Al met Lisa, he was not going to let anyone else cut his grass. Literally.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that's a really... I don't actually know what the euphemism was there, but to cut someone's grass does, in fact, sound kind of like you are grooming their pubic area.
Yeah, because when I was in high school, way back in the day, if you hit on a woman who one of your male friends was like you knew he was into, that was cutting his grass. So it was like getting in on my turf. But in a sexual context, it really does sound like cutting their pubes. And I mean, like, look, do that if that's I'm sure that's a thing that many people do.
If you want to help each other groom each other, wonderful.
Frankly, that sounds very practical.
That's a very loving relationship.
Yeah, I respect that. I don't think anyone needs to get that close to my zone, but like,
if you want that, sure.
Exactly.
Great.
Anyway, please continue.
Al and Lisa. The pair fell in love with the smell of two-stroke and freshly clipped lawn defining their romance. And before you say, what? You need to know the couple are also competitive lawnmower racers. So yes, it's a thing.
I wasn't going to say I was genuinely thinking very hard about whether I could potentially be aroused by the smell of, like, freshly cut grass.
And the like, gasoline that you put in a lawnmower.
But just think about, like, you've got, like, the shirt's off, obviously, and it's just, like, hot and sunny and sweaty and, like, just a big muscular man standing out in the yard, like, glistening, freshly cut grass smell. This could work, Alison. I'm kind of getting into it.
You're getting too into it, so I'm going to keep reading the story about straight people.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm having a private moment. Please continue.
Yeah, you need to know the couple are also competitive lawnmower racers. Yes, it's a thing. So much so that they ditched the usual classic car cavalcade for their recent wedding for a pair of ride-on mowers. Lisa and Al loved their mower racing so much that they used their mowers as their wedding vehicles. The couple moved to Kempsey in 2015 for work and Googled clubs in the local area as a way to find their social niche. So I like that neither of these people had even heard of lawnmower racing. They just Googled
stuff to do in
Kempsey. And look, there's not a lot to do in Kempsey. If you've ever been to Kempsey, you would know that. It's a very boring place.
But it has lawnmower racing.
Well, it has lawnmower racing, so that's pretty cool. So
I think any place is as interesting as you make it, and if you introduce a lawnmower to the equation, it's immediately more interesting.
If you Google things to do in Kempsey and you see lawnmower racing, you know you're going to go at least once. Because
but you also know there is fuck all to do in this town, because they've had to come up with...
As gaycoin says, you never know unless you try. So you read this Kempsey Lawnmower Racing Club and you're like, well, gaycoin told me I'll never know unless I try, so I'm going to try.
I did read this in the Bible of gaycoin, so...
In the scriptures of gaycoin.
I think the scriptures of gaycoin can be the episode title. Very good.
Kempsey Mower Racing piqued their interest, and with their shared love of motoring, it was the obvious choice. They attended one test and tune and then started building their first racing mower the next week.
Holy fuck! That's a commitment.
It is a very quick commitment to this sport of lawnmower racing. You go to one and you're like, I'm all in.
But I also really relate to it, because that's how I do most things in life, in a way that is honestly pretty irresponsible of me.
Well, that's what I used to do when I was young, because I'd join all these sports clubs. And look, if my mom's listening to this, she'll probably feel pretty triggered by this, because I did join a lot of clubs and quit them soon after she bought me the equipment.
Yes.
So, look, I understand Al and Lisa's immediate enthusiasm for lawnmower racing.
Anyway, please continue.
Sorry, my phone went to lock.
It's rude.
Al and Lisa have now progressed to own a mower each and love every minute of racing, especially when it's raising money for a good cause. Good on them.
Aww.
Kempsey Mower Racing is a club that is family-friendly and full of fun for all ages. I'll be honest, I don't really want to see, like, toddlers riding around on lawnmowers.
I fucking do. I absolutely want to see that. Why wouldn't you? There's no risk. It's very safe.
I don't want to see a toddler fall into the lawnmower.
Well, look, surely, but I guess maybe they would have to take the covers off to make it more aerodynamic for the racing mower.
I don't know, like, if the lawnmowers they race have blades. Because if they don't have blades, then it's not a lawnmower. It's just like a go-kart.
Okay, here's my question. Is the lawnmower race just like a get to the finish line, or is it here is an area of grass that you have to mow in as short a time as possible?
Well, I haven't done that much research, so I'm going to just quickly Google.
Because that would take a lot of planning to do, because you'd have to let the grass grow a certain amount before you could do it.
Let's have a look. It appears to be a race to the finish line. Is lawnmower racing a sport? Google. Lawnmower racing is a variant of motorsport in which the participants use race-modified lawnmowers. Using the lawnmowers, usually the lawnmowers used are ride-on or self-propelled. The lawnmower engines are kept, but blades are removed for safety purposes. Come on,
babies. I was hoping that it would be otherwise identical to a normal lawnmower, except they stuck a V8 in there, and so it fucking goes.
And then it's just like, you know there's been a lawnmower race because there's just these erratic lines on the field.
Alison, I'm going to turn up to a lawnmower race and I'll be like, so where can I refill my nitrous? Where can I get a top up?
I mean, looking at the photos, it is really just people going speedy on a motorcycle. Well, not a motorcycle, a lawnmower.
So just like a shitty, slow quad bike, essentially.
Well, yeah, essentially. It does disappoint me that there's no blades on this, because that would have been a fun little twist to motorsports.
Most things in life, most objects, I think, are improved if you add blades to it. Like, just...
Most sports are improved if you add blades.
Most sports are improved by blades. Yeah. Imagine how much more fun soccer would be if every person, one of their feet had a blade, so they can only kick the ball. It's like the shoes in,
like the James Bond kind of shoes where you tap them on the heel and the little blade pops out.
Well, I was thinking it meant that they could only kick with one foot, because if they kick with the other foot, it will deflate the ball.
Now so that's a good idea.
That adds a tactical element to soccer, which definitely doesn't already have a tactical element. And then you also
have to be really, like, coordinated that you don't accidentally kick your own leg with the bladed shoe, because that's something I would do, I think.
Yeah, me too, dude.
I would definitely stab myself in the ankle.
There would just be blood streaked all over the grass.
Oh, no.
I'm thinking in terms of, like...
The grass would have a lot of kind of,
I'm thinking for rugby what we do is we just add those German World War I helmets that have the spikes coming out of the tops.
Oh, dear.
And they just wear those, and that's it. That's the only difference. So that when you're charging, you go head down and you fucking get out of the way, because otherwise it's going to happen.
I would get out of the way, because frankly, I don't personally want to be stabbed.
You'll get stuck with the helmet, is the problem. Hockey already has blades. I think we could add more blades to it. Like
netball has blades in the fingernails of the girls who play.
I think we could add Wolverine claws to netball. I think that could make it a bit more dynamic. I think
it would make catching the ball quite hard, but again, it's the extra element of challenge that you don't deflate the ball with your Wolverine claws.
I think baseball. I mean, obviously the bat is replaced with a sword, and I'm not sure.
The aim is just to chop the ball in half, and you get a home run.
Instead of a baseball, we're throwing like a cabbage or something, and you have to slice it in half and see how far you can get it.
So basically, instead of baseball, we're just going to play Fruit Ninja in real life.
Fuck yes. But with all of the other baseball shit in there as well. Like, I think this is excellent, actually. I want to play swordball. I think it would be. That actually sounds like a very fun sport to watch. Maybe not to play, but to watch it would be very exciting.
Yeah, it doesn't sound ideal.
Plus, can you imagine, like, the camera zoom? Like, when he goes... You know how most... baseball, when he like hits the thing,
I've never watched a baseball game.
Okay, but like you can imagine that when they hit it, the camera like pulls back so you can see where the ball goes. In this, it doesn't. When he swings the sword, it zooms right in so you can see like that beautiful, sexy slice action. See the cabbage just coming apart at the seams.
Absolutely, and that's what you want to see. That's the beauty shot, the money shot of the game.
And there's a lot of different, like, types of swords you can bring into swordball. Like, some people use, like, the katana is the obvious choice. Like, that's the...
You need a double-edged sword for this game.
That's, like... But katana's, like... That's, like, the easy option. That's, like, the softball version,
That's what all the weeaboos play with.
Yeah. If you really want to get into it, you bring a big fucking Game of Thrones broadsword. Like, one of those big two-handed boys that is very heavy. Because you can get some momentum behind one of those, and that cabbage will go a long way.
Now, if you're an idiot, you'll play with a fencing foil, and it would just kind of like... The cabbage would just kind of like slide down the thin little sword and just sit at the end of your sword.
Well, and no, what you can do is then you just have the ball and you can then run and do your home run.
Well, that's true, because then they have to chase you and catch you to get the ball off your foil.
So lots of very, like, small, like, fast-running swordball players will do it that way.
Yeah, and they're not going to get any cool money shots or home runs, and a lot of the audience are going to be really angry with it, but they'll be happy if their team does it so they can get the extra points.
The first season, it'll be like this thing. It'll be outlawed after that season, but like everyone will remember that season as like it was a really cool one.
Absolutely. Like at least 5 people suffered serious injuries. No one died. No one died, of course. Of course. Because they're professionals. But there were a lot of serious injuries. There were a few fingers lost.
Cricket, I think we need to replace both the bat and the stumps with blades.
I just want to replace the stumps with blades.
In case you trip over and fall into the blades.
But the blades are like, you know, it's not like the 3 swords in a line with like the flat side facing the player. It is the sharp side facing the player.
Yes. I was thinking it's just the 3 swords pointing up. And if the top gets knocked off, then like you have to literally fall on your sword. Like that's the rules. It's
no.
We go through a lot of players in cricket.
Oh dear. Maybe make cricket more interesting, I suppose.
Yeah, it'd be a lot less boring if people died in it, totally. 100%.
So dark.
Shall we wrap up? I think it's time.
I think this episode is just very grim.
It is. Well, you started it. You started it with your thing about the bad climate man.
Well, I started the trend for the day.
Yeah, and then
I'm sorry about that. I really am.
I'm not sorry about swordball. It's going to be the big new sport.
See, now here's the thing, though, because I feel like the mood of my room is fitting with the mood of this episode, because right now it is very dark in my room.
Oh, you know you have lights.
Yeah, I do, but it's over there on the other side, and it wasn't dark when I started recording.
Oh my, so dramatic and so scenic.
Yeah.
My room, it was dark when I started recording, so my lights are on, unfortunately.
Anyway, we should wrap up.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for listening. You can follow us on Twitter or Instagram at Red Menacecast or on Facebook at The Red Menace Podcast. Tell your friends to listen to the show. Tell your friends to buy our merch at tpublic.com. Just search The Red Menace Podcast. It's free advertising for us. You have to pay to advertise for us, but, you've got to commit. Sure. When you like something, you've really got to show your appreciation for it financially.
Yeah, big time.
I have to pay for this Apple News Plus subscription now. I have to pay for a number of blades.
I did pay for a subscription to one local newspaper once and unsubscribed and now continue to still get emails from them with the updates of news of the week. And that's something that happens to me. But I thought we'd wrap up with one last pun. It's a very, very, very bad pun, but as I've mentioned before, I do get a lot of PR spam in my inbox because for some reason people know me as a journalist, even though the newspaper I write for, probably no one reads it. It is a free newspaper that you find in the street. If you do find it, read it. Anyway, I do get PR spam, and I received multiple emails from this PR person, and I'll read the follow-up because it's just funny. So this person goes, "Hi there. I just wanted to touch base on the below news on the 2019 finalists for the 2019 Excellence Awards that have been nominated by the public and handpicked by Manu Fidel."
Okay.
Blah, 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 blah. And they're just like, keep going on. New South Wales has 2 spots in the final 4 dishes that will be judged at the Australian Egg pop-up restaurant on Sydney 10th of October at the eve of World Egg Day. It's just very weird
that exists.
shit. Okay. So, World Egg Day exists and you can go vote in the Excellence Awards. And that's all that there is to this weird thing.
Cool.
Yeah. Why do I get these emails, Chris? I don't want this.
Because you asked for them, quite literally.
I really don't know. Send me more KFC wedding press releases. I don't want this egg press release.
I want more of that. More
KFC
fast
weddings.
Food. More fast food related news, please.
Yeah, PRs out there who are not listening to this podcast, and they probably also don't read the newspaper that I write for, but please send me KFC and KFC wedding related press releases, not egg related press releases.
No. Send Alice some KFC, not eggs.
Yeah.
Thank you everybody for listening. Good luck and